Hello my friends and welcome back. I am happy to see you on that side of the screen, or that side of the camera lens actually. It's Tuesday. You know what that means? You survived Monday, my friends. And tomorrow is gonna be Wednesday, my dudes. First of all, I want to make you feel good before we go to serious military news. So I am going to show you a Ukrainian new recon drone. This recon drone is perfect for recon missions over Russian positions because, as you can see, it's a flying toilet. And Russians don't really have toilets in majority of Russia. So they would look up and say, oh, toilet. They would freeze. They don't know what to do. They see it flying around and they want it. But they cannot get it because it's up in the air. And then this recon drone relays the coordinates and FPVs come. It's a perfect Russian stopper toilet recon drone for Ukraine. Alright my friends, in all seriousness we go back to military news now and we start with a good one. European Union has allocated yet another 5 billion euros, that's 5.5 billion USD for Ukraine for buying ammunition and weaponry and also non-lethal aid, so humanitarian aid. It's just money for Ukraine to cope with the war. And European money always comes with strings attached. Now it sounds bad in most cases, but in this case it means that all money from the European Union to Ukraine will be given after a committee has verified that Ukraine has taken these and these steps and they can get the money. For example, fight against corruption. It is not Ukrainian officials who will be saying to the EU that, no, you see, we fought against corruption, give us the money. It will be the EU formed committee who, as a third party, will look into Ukrainian justice system and then say to the European Union, yes, they indeed have made changes against corruption. We can give them the next portion of the money. So I'm glad to see that the EU is not throwing the money away or just coughing it at a problem. They have conditions for it, pro-democratic conditions for Ukraine. I'm glad to see that. Also connected to this very topic, the fact that the United States has pulled back in allocating money for Ukraine means that EU has stepped up. And I'm very glad to see that because it's our continent, our Europe. I've said it so many times. It must be right that we fight for it, that we allocate the money. It's our responsibility. It's right next door for us. So in my eyes, very good decision. Also sending message to the United States and the citizens that we can handle ourselves. Thank you for the aid you have given us, but we can manage. We will pick it up from here. My friends, this video you see right here is Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which is the biggest nuclear power plant on the European soil, European area. It's now under Russian occupation. Do you notice anything odd about this video? Is these two dudes running across this power plant just using it as a stadium working out. I would love to do that. I would love to work out in a power plant. But these trucks right here, the Z trucks and the infantry fighting vehicles, they're parked in very tight formations into the power plant, which of course, yes, is a war crime, but Russia doesn't care. The fact that they are here gives Russians the security that these will never be targeted. Because Ukraine would never target their own nuclear power plant. It's theirs, for Christ's sake. So Russia is hiding their military tech, a lot of ammunition, hundreds of tons of ammunition, everything inside this power plant because it is de facto the safest building in the area because it is the one building that will never be struck by Ukraine. I just want to give this information out there that this is happening. Now, my friends, the topic of North Korea supplying ammunition for Russia is nothing new. But I just want to illustrate another angle of it. It is not Ukrainian production versus the Russian production. And we all know that Russia is able to produce a lot more shells than the Europe and Ukraine combined. But it's actually Ukraine and Europe versus Russia and North Korea. Because North Korean factories, this information comes from South Korean ministers and intelligence actually. They have analyzed the factories in North Korea. They are running in 3 shifts, meaning North Korea with their non-existent workers' laws are whipping their people just to produce as much ammunition for Russia as possible. North Korea is a backwards country. They don't have much production capability, but they do have managed to increase throughout decades the production of dumb artillery shells. Soviet-styled artillery shells to quite high levels. They have support from China, and now they have support from Russia. What do they get from Russia by giving the shells to Russia? Well, they get support for weapons production, some, let's say, microchips. That Russia doesn't get good microchips. They cannot buy them from the West, but they're still decades ahead from North Korea. North Korea needs a lot what Russia has, so they have every interest in working together. So it is Russian factories that have already quite high shell production capability, working in 3 shifts, and it's North Korean factories, the country which only existent goal is to produce military weaponry and gear and these dumb 60-year-old designed shells. And these combined, you get a pretty powerful military might. So it is not Russia versus Ukraine. It is Ukraine plus the West versus Russia plus North Korea, who is supported by China because they only exist because China sends yearly aid to them because they would starve otherwise. It's a whole World War III Axis versus allies again. And don't need to be very intelligent to see this whole thing panning out. It is the global South versus the West, NATO. And if it is so, then why should we not help our allies? They're fighting for us. We should give every bit, every artillery possibility, capability that we have in Europe to Ukraine. And I'm glad we are slowly moving there. For example, let's take Greek. Yes, country, Greek. Their prime minister was in Ukraine about half a month ago. And him and Zelensky were missed by a Russian missile 200 meters. I don't know how many feet or yard that is, but 200 meters, very close, so close. They almost both got killed. That shook the Greek country and the Greek prime minister, who after that came out with the biggest military aid packet Greece has given to Ukraine. I will read you the packet to give credit to where credit is due. Greece announces massive military aid package for Ukraine, 2,000 5-inch Zuni rockets, 180 2.7-inch Zuni rockets, 90,000 90mm anti-tank, anti-aircraft ammo. It's very old ammunition, but it kills and destroys the same way if you aim it correctly. 4 million bullets, 70 United States-made M114A1 howitzers. And this is the Greek Prime Minister who almost got killed with Zelensky by a Russian missile while visiting Ukraine. Now, I know it sounds odd and weird, but this is the best thing that could happen. The wake-up call Europe needs. You know how it happens. When European ministers and diplomats and leaders of countries go to Ukraine and they have a near-death experience by Russian missiles. It's so easy to sit in Europe in your comfy couch and not really understand what Ukraine is going through, the struggle. But if you're there and you see it exploding and people died in that explosion, Greek Prime Minister saw in 200 meters how people would die, civilians who did nothing wrong. He was there, he saw it. It immediately changed his mindset and the whole country's mindset. So this is what needs to happen. And I'm glad it is happening. Diplomats and leaders of European countries are visiting Ukraine regularly, and it must continue like that. Now, if there is any diplomat in Europe or a leader or prime minister who hasn't done so, then you as democratic citizens and representatives of the West, you have the power to guide them in that direction. Go to Ukraine. See it with your own eyes, then make up your mind. Go and see it first. It's only natural to first see what you're going to support. My friends, now I'll just steal another 30 seconds of your life because I think you need it. It's Tuesday after all. You know, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has completely turned around in the Ukrainian topic. He suddenly grew huge, massive balls like Napoleon. Now, the first French troops are already in Ukraine and we have footage of it. Check this out. Urban warfare, French troops, special operation. Oh, baguette man. Oh, vive la France. This guy throws a baguette at you, you don't know what to do. This is how Bakhmut will be liberated. This is how Avdiivka will be liberated. The French baguette man. And my friends, here, this is one of the last memes, I promise you, then we go back to serious news. This is Scholz, a man without balls, holding on to Russia. I got you, brother. And now Macron comes with these Napoleonic balls and said, oh no, no you don't. Kabam! Baguette to the face. All right, my friends, Back to military news, back to serious topics. Another oil refinery was hit, and I know it's getting repetitive. Oh, another oil refinery, like the fires in Russia. Before these oil refineries were hit, there were just fires everywhere. And I stopped reporting on them because it gets repetitive, and I see the watch time. I see where people click away. But I do need to report this because it is so big and so necessary. The whole Russian economy, everything runs on fuel money. It's a gas station, said by, I think it was Lindsey Graham who said that Russia is just a big, huge gas station. That's how they exist and how they're able to do what they do. Now Ukraine is going to the fundamentals, the basics that keep the entire Russian system running. Oil refining capabilities. Because selling crude raw oil is, that's the cheapest way. You don't make that much money, but if you refine it and sell the petroleum products and diesel and refined engine oil, for example, or asphalt, that brings in more bang for the buck. Now, Ukraine is taking that capability away from Russia. I will analyze again in this video a little bit. Now, this is the newest refinery that was hit. We can see the satellite imagery. And this is not only some kind of information operation that these refineries are hit left and right. We have satellite imagery. We have videos from people right next to the refineries, shooting the drones landing into the refineries. There is no denying that this is real and it's very devastating for Russia, and that there is no antidote for it. Since you cannot protect a huge thousands of miles of area with air defense. Air defense is a saturation weapon. Where you saturate it, this will be a bubble of defended airspace. You cannot saturate thousands of miles. No country could. The United States couldn't. So Russia couldn't. And these refineries are far away from each other. So it is only natural they cannot defend them, all of them. They just don't have enough air defense systems. No country does. That presents a beautiful opportunity for Ukraine, which they're using to just focus them down one by one, systematically taking the most vital income source away from the Russian military. It is beautiful. I love it. All right, my friends. Now, talking about the photo and video proof, I'm not here to spread some false information. Each and every one of these photos is filmed by bystanders, civilians next to the refineries. Some of them even have videos of drones actually going into the refineries. So we see Ust-Luga, for example. This one here is Estonia. Ust-Luga is 300 kilometers from where I'm now. In 3 hours, I could be in Ust-Luga with a car, not even breaking the speed limit. It's right next to the Estonian border. And it was hit in January. It was one of the first ones that was hit when Ukraine started targeting the refineries this year, 2024. And then all of these refineries followed. As you can see, most of them are even closer to Moscow than to Ukraine. This says two things. If Ukraine sent the drones from Ukrainian territory and they flew indeed 1,000 kilometers over the Russian airspace, it's really bad. It means Russia doesn't have any air defense systems in the depth. If Ukraine didn't do that, but some partisans controlled by SBU, Ukrainian intelligence, inside Russia did it only a few clicks away and started the drones up in the forest somewhere, it also is really bad. That shows that, okay, Ukraine cannot fly 1,000 kilometers into Russia, but what they can do is control an organized network of SBU spies around these refineries. Both versions, whichever one is true, are incredibly bad for Russia. And their money is burning, literally. One of these versions is true. We don't know which one. And these are the refineries that, yes, Hitler wanted. This is why he went south. He could have just taken Leningrad, taken Moscow, but he focused on these refineries. This is Crimea, occupied Crimea right here. These are like the major oil fields that he wanted for his Reich, his war machine. And they are burning right now. So Hitler just wanted to take them, but Ukraine would just burn them to the ground. My friends, in this video I want to show you the numerous air defense systems, not systems but crews, targeting Shahed drones. Since Shaheds are flying all across the skies every day, every night, I could see only two of the beams, two crews, but look more closer in the distance, and they're moving in the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's more, I think. And there's something coming from here. 5 from the sides. You can see barely in the distance how many of them. This is like 2-3 square kilometers we see from the light beams. How many crews are there targeting these Shahed drones? It's truly like the Second World War, the Blitz, where you actually only relied on these light beams to shoot down the German planes over the skies of London. It's crazy imagery. Look, 1, 2, 3, there was one here, 4, 5, and one on the side. I see 6 only in this small area. Pretty crazy. My friends, in this video I want to show, I couldn't call it a Wunderwaffe, it's just a weird weapon in Ukraine, and I will go a little bit into depth about these designs. There's nothing new, it already existed for 100 years. It's a Kalashnikov behind a brick wall with a mirror system going back to the trigger point puller, and pulls the trigger which is connected to the wire to the real trigger, meaning you can shoot and aim this weapon while completely you don't expose any part of your body for it. Now it looks really awesome and really cool, and a person who is not familiar with the German designs of Second World War might think that this is genius. Wow, how good is it? But I will analyze it for a little bit. The image you see right here from the tube is actually a mirror system up to the barrel. You actually see exactly where the weapon is shooting. But there's an issue with it. Let's go into it. First of all, if you shoot this weapon and the enemy sees the muzzle flash, they will probably think you are behind this brick wall here, and they will start shooting at this brick wall. Now, to shoot through this brick wall, it's not a problem. You just empty 1 or 2 magazines into it, and it's such a powder that everything goes through. So this brick wall unfortunately does not shield you in long term against small arms fire, which is supposed to do, because if you decide to shoot in such an uncomfortable way, the benefit you get from it should be an impregnable barrier. But this is not one. It will give way very easily, and you're gonna be dead. So this is one point. The second point is changing, like in any fire exchange situation, it's not about 5-10 bullets, it's about suppressing the enemy, which takes hundreds, I'm not kidding, hundreds, if not thousands of bullets. Suppressing, shooting into the area so they wouldn't lift their head, which means you have to change this magazine as much as possible. Like in Counter-Strike, every 2 bullets, is like, you just change it a lot, let's say it like that. And it's very difficult to change it, because you gotta, like, how are you gonna do it? It's quite difficult. Like, this system would work if it would have a box and a chain of bullets, like 200, 300 in a box and going, and you wouldn't have to change. But then the barrel would overheat, so there's many issues. Thirdly, any kind of position that cannot be fastly changed or maneuvered is a kind of a trap in anywhere. So if you shoot, the enemy knows where you shoot. Then what really happens in squad and infantry warfare, I was an infantryman, is analysis of the battlefield situation and analysis how should you split your squad, who goes to the side, who goes to the back, who lays down covering fire, who talks to the team. If you're just here, you cannot move this stuff, and it's stabilized and local. Like if the enemy knows where you are and you cannot go anywhere because you have such kind of a weapon, you're a sitting duck. Warfare, infantry warfare also is about mobility, always. Mobility, suppressing the enemy with a lot of fire, not one magazine. And then when you're close enough and they cannot lift their head, you throw a grenade or you go into the trench. But this is, you have to be physically here. So in my eyes, this system, it looks really cool. Genius. Like the fact that they tried, but it doesn't really work that well. And it's not only my words. It already has existed for 100 years. This is First World War. It has existed 1918, 1914, 15, this stuff existed. Look at this. Also in the Second World War, a lot of these design happened. Look at this. It's nothing new. Germans in World War II had a little bit of these weapons, and you can see bullet goes around the corner. The issue was that these barrels would break all the time. The bullet would be broke into shrapnel. It's not very accurate, because since you cannot aim, it needs a mirror to aim. It seems good on paper, but it doesn't really work in any way. The best thing that works is a weapon stock fixed to your shoulder, and strong trigger discipline, and aiming and shooting and moving and aiming and shooting and moving. This works. It has worked for hundreds of years. All this next stuff is just... it looks cool, but it doesn't really do the job. My friends, in this video, we see a Russian man in Avdiivka, Russian-occupied Avdiivka, which is completely destroyed, and there's about 1,000 civilians still living in that city. Now, there's no translation in this video, but overall, I just say this guy, you can see, he's very motivated and very like, oh wow, Avdiivka, you know, because he probably comes from an extremely poor Russian region, and this destroyed Avdiivka for him is something special and new, and big, because his region is even worse in Russia, like there are so bad regions. Well, he says, Larissa, I'm in Avdiivka. These houses have everything, TVs, everything. We just need some kind of a freight train to take it out of here. So in his eyes, he's so amazed about this situation around him, these destroyed houses that he have TVs, that he's thinking about the logistics of how to get it all to Russia, because they don't have it in Russia. Oh, we need the TVs, we need the toilets, everything. How do we get it out? Larissa, look at all of this. This shows you a lot what is the mediocre Russian living in. And how is Putin able to just offer them a little bit of money for them to be ready to die for the Tsar? If you keep the population poor, it gives you a potential weapon to mobilize the population with money. Putin has been keeping the Russians poor just for this moment. Just for when he needs it, he can pull out his war chest and just start handing out money and people will go for him to die. So he has planned this for a long time. My friends, now something that you might think, oh, why is Artur showing this? It's a waste of my time. I will show only 1 minute of this video. I just want to we're on the same page here. That's what is NATO in the most kindergarten explanatory possible.
Every nation state has a right to territorial integrity and to choose its alliances. When countries are concerned about being attacked by a big power, they can join a defensive alliance. The basic principle is, if a member of the alliance is attacked, their partner nations in the alliance help defend it. NATO is precisely such a defensive alliance. It isn't threatening anyone, but it does protect against threats. NATO is not expanding.
The biggest narrative of Putin's propaganda is that NATO is expanding. I mean, look how close they have come to the Russian border. Well, the fact that these NATO countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, who joined in 2004, for example, and Poland and the former Warsaw Pact countries that were supposed to be under Russian sphere of influence, joined NATO. You know how it happened? It was a public referendum, a democratically held referendum where every citizen voted who wanted to vote, and they voted their countries into NATO. So it's
Every European nation can decide for themselves whether they would like to be a member of NATO. Current members then make their decision. Only if all members agree is a nation invited to join NATO.
My friends, now for a little bit of a funny video for you. This guy is unloading. His job is to unload anti-tank mines, and he has chosen a very effective but a scary way to do so, just pushing them with the feet. Just go down. Let gravity handle it. I don't care. This much explosives here could send you to the moon, to oblivion. You would go to nirvana immediately. Yes, I know many of you will comment, oh, Artur, there are no detonators in them. I know there are not. But I would still want to find a guy who would just gladly go on top of here and jump, even if no detonators. Just like, oh, woo, I'm doing it. Even if no detonators, I would still be afraid of this pile of ammunition. This guy has the craziest of jobs, and he doesn't give a single F. Now, my friends, a final analysis of the Putin's election, or sham election, or it wasn't even an election, it was just Putin's continuation as president with a little electoral pause. The thing is, why is this election, sham election, important is because Putin has shown to the West and to his people that he is very careful in taking big decisions before these elections are over. It's a time of potential instability in the country. So usually straight after the election, when he has secured another 6 years, yes, because Putin changed the constitution about 10 years ago, allowing himself to be president for 6 years. So for another 6 years he's president, and in the first months he usually does a very unpopular decision that he has wanted to make for a long time but wanted to wait after the elections. Last time, after the 2018 elections, the Russian government went through with a very unpopular retirement reform that they wanted to do for a long time. I mean, Putin wanted, but he didn't want to do it before the election, so he did it after. Now everybody is holding their breath because they know Putin's patterns. What unpopular decision that Russia really needs is he going to do after these elections? They're over. He won by 87%. He's the president now for the next 6 years until 2030. What is he going to do? Everybody thinks it's mobilization, since it's very unpopular in Russia and it's something that he needs and he wants and the military needs in Ukraine, Russian military, but it's so unpopular that the only way to do it is after the election. Well, the election is over. So we might be expecting something big from Russia, from Putin, that he wanted to do for a long time, but it's really unpopular. Like general mobilization or partial mobilization. We might see millions being pulled into the army. All right, my friends, now you know what time it is. It's Buy Me a Coffee time. I'll be butchering 10 new names for you, and I'm so glad I get to do it again. If you like my channel, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee in the description below and sign up for your name to be butchered in an unimaginable way. Joni Nesterenko, Ukrainian family name. Scott Hamilton, Jochen Kathrein, Patricio Argentina, Troy Hotkis, Beat, Katherine Winter. Thank you to these Buy Me a Coffee members. If you become a member, I'll be butchering your name. Also, my friends, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I don't say that very often, but I found out that about 50% of you are not subscribed. So subscribe and press the bell, because then you will be notified if I upload. And until my next video, which is Hump Day tomorrow, Wednesday, be back, my friends. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.